Guys, look at this. Something as small as this can be used to hack an airplane. Could you have ever imagined that? No password needs to be stolen, no Wi-Fi needs to be broken into. Just a tiny object like this that has some Wi-Fi enabled function in it can critically interfere with a Boeing 737 aircraft. Now, before you start thinking that someone can simply connect to the plane's Wi-Fi from their seat and take control of the aircraft, no, that's not what this research shows. In fact, it shows something even much simpler: a physical access to the body of the aircraft. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you that cybersecurity is not always about what happens on the internet, but something that someone can simply physically connect to your system. I am Eboh FN and this is Cyber Analysis on Secnido. So, what did these researchers actually discover? Before we understand that, let us go behind the scene of an aircraft. Modern aircraft are not just the combination of the cockpit, the engine, and the wings. No, it is also the combination of computers and electronics that constantly communicate with one another. It is these computers that help manage the navigation of the aircraft and provide information to the cockpit about the position of the flight plan, and other very sensitive information that the pilot needs to fly the plane. These researchers wanted to know what will happen if someone gained physical access to this communication pathway. And once they understood this communication pathway, they built a device as tiny as this one to exploit this weakness. So the basic concept here is someone gets close enough to install this device under the belly of the aircraft. It stays hidden there. Then the remote communication begins. You may want to ask, what happens once this device has been connected or installed under the belly of the aircraft? This is where it gets scary. The researchers are saying that if the hackers successfully have this device connected, they can potentially manipulate the flight path of the aircraft. That is, a plane that is scheduled for the US can find itself in Canada. It is as scary as that, and it doesn't end there. It is also possible that they can alter the information about the weight of the aircraft and the outside temperature. These are sensitive information that the pilot needs to fly the plane. You can see that when the attacker changes this very critical information that the aircraft uses and the pilot sees something else, they are basically attacking the trust between the computer and the humans using it, the pilot in this instance. When you look closely, this story becomes even bigger than the Boeing 737 because the underlying cybersecurity lesson applies to almost every connected system. Before now, we imagine cyber attack happening over the internet. Someone stealing a password, someone sending a phishing email, someone gaining access to a web server. But what happens if the attacker can physically touch the system? Let's say a USB cord, a maintenance connector, a network cable. All of a sudden, an attack that could have been much difficult over the internet becomes even easier if the attacker can come even closer. I know the questions going through your mind now is, how do we even defend against this? There is no one magic solution, but there are 4 basic steps we could take that could help. First, controlling physical access. If a port is not needed, it should be removed, sealed, or protected. And this is what I would advise for the Boeing 737 situation. Secondly, isolate critical systems. If one system is compromised, it shouldn't mean that every other critical system can be manipulated. Third, monitor communications. If a device begins to send abnormal signal, the system should ideally be able to recognize that behavior. And lastly, authenticate communication. Instead of trusting that the message had come from a legitimate system, future design should be able to use more advanced mechanisms to track exactly where the message had come from. Did you hear that the smartphones of several US military personnel currently serving in the Middle East were targeted in a recent cyber incident? Before I dive deep into this story, just imagine for a second, you have a smartphone, no one touches it, no malware was installed on it, yet someone thousands of miles away can figure out where you sleep, where you work, where you go to every morning, and shockingly, where you will be tomorrow. It sounds like science fiction, right? Stay until the end of this video and I'm going to show you how this all happened. Now, when you hear that a phone has been tracked, the first thing that comes to your mind is a malware has been installed on this phone and the person has been able to take control of that phone. But that is not exactly what happened in this case. This report stated two methods in which your phone's location can be obtained. The first is the cellular network itself, while the second is one which is more familiar to us, the mobile apps in our phones and the advertising ecosystem behind them. Let's break it down so that you really understand what's happening here. Now let us talk about the cellular network. Each time your phone connects to a network, your phone tells the network where it is. Now think of all those times you travel to another country. Your phone doesn't just stop working. Your mobile provider or your network provider from the country you're coming from communicates with the network provider in the country you're going to so that you are still able to make calls, send SMS, receive calls, and all of that. Now, that communication behind the scene between the network provider in the country you're coming from and in the country that you've just arrived is called or is being managed by a system called SS7, Signaling System Number 7. Over the years, research has shown that if one is able to break into the SS7 network, they will be able to estimate the location of a phone. I must point out something here, that the SS7 network can be very restricted to break into. However, history has shown that the weaknesses in this system has been exploited by criminals, private surveillance companies, and even nation-state actors. The second method is one that concerns everyone that uses a smartphone. Now think of the apps that you use every day. Your weather app needs your location to give you local forecasts. Your navigation app like your Google Map needs your location to give you direction. Your social media app, your shopping apps, your gaming app are also asking for location access. Now reflect over the fact that dozens of different companies keep a diary of where your phone have been. One company knows where you work, another knows the coffee shop you visit every morning, one knows the gym you visit every evening. Now don't get me wrong, these pieces of information on their own may not seem revealing, but if one person gathers all these diaries together, they can paint a picture of your daily routine. And that's why this data is very valuable. So while this report focuses on the US military, the bigger lesson is your smartphone doesn't need to be hacked to reveal information about you. Sometimes the data it shares as part of everyday services, when put together, is enough to paint a surprisingly detailed picture about your life. So, what can you do about this? You can't completely make your phone invisible, and of course you cannot throw your phone away. But there are things you could do to reduce the amount of unnecessary data you share. I'm going to give you 4 ways you can do this. First, begin by reviewing your app permissions. A lot of persons do not bother to read the permissions an app is asking them access to. They just click allow so that they can go their way. It doesn't work that way. You have to go back again, check your app permissions. If an app doesn't need access to your location, turn it off. If an app needs your location only while you are using it, do not grant it automatic access to access your location all the time. Secondly, delete any app on your phone that you no longer use. And thirdly, review the advertisement and privacy settings of some of these applications that you have on your phone. And lastly, for organizations, this goes even further. For personnel that carry out very sensitive functions, you have to start thinking about employing stronger controls around mobile devices, location services, and app permissions. And this brings us to the end of today's video. I know you've not only just been informed about the latest happenings in cybersecurity, you've also learned how these events affect you and how you should guard against them. If you found this video helpful, please like, share with someone you know, and subscribe so that you don't miss future videos. It helps this channel grow and achieve its aim of reaching more people who need information like this. And if you would like to dive deeper into cybersecurity topics, head over to secnews.com to read the latest article, Securing AI Agents, the New Cybersecurity Challenge. It promises to be a great read. Also, be sure to follow SecNews on all social media platforms to stay updated on cybersecurity news and tips. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week with another amazing cybersecurity related topic. Until then, stay safe and stay secured. I'll see you in the next one.